I took a computer science introductory course through an institution called EDX. It's an online learning. You can pay for the credits or you can just do it for free, which I did. My course was offered to Harvard X, which is the online section of Harvard. So, I really wanted to, next year I'm going into computer science at KU, so I wanted to get a baseline foundation for what I was going to learn, and I wanted to know if I would actually like it or not. And I think I do, so I learned that. Description of my project. The top quote is taken from my project plan. I want to learn the basics of computer science to lay a foundation for my future education. I will be taking a computer science course offered through Harvard X through EDX. I will be coding in the C language. And my learning goal is I want to get a good foundation for my future computer science education. So did I accomplish that goal? Yes, I did. I learned a lot, and I don't think I retained it all, but it was good. Project plan review. So EDX is broken into week by week, and I dedicated a week for each week, obviously. In reality, I only completed weeks 1 through 2 and about halfway through weeks 3. And that was because I only had that computer to work on. The compiler, which CS50 requires you to work on, does not work on our little dinky computers. It doesn't have enough RAM. So here's my plan versus the reality of which I completed. So mastery of technology used. I used CS50, Harvard through EDX, and I used a forum called Dream and Code, and I used that to troubleshoot some problems. And I used the CS50 appliance. I'll explain that a little bit later. And I used VMware Fusion Virtual Machine. And virtual machines are cool. They're programs which allow you to run a separate operating system within your own computer. So it's like running a computer within a computer. And CS50, they want all of their students to be on the same platform so they can get the same baseline knowledge. So they have an appliance, which is a Linux-based operating system. Here's EDX. You can see on the left sidebar it's broken into weeks, which about 2 lectures per week and walkthroughs with separate programs which give you instructions and such. Here's the forum, Dream and Code. I use this for troubleshooting and project ideas. And here's the actual appliance. So it's just like running a computer within a computer. It's pretty cool, actually. It's Linux. And here is the compiler that you use. So in this top window, this is where you actually write your code. And down here is a terminal window within that. And you can compile your programs in here. I don't know if you can see that right there, but that's running a program, so ./program name, and then it'll run the program. So overview, I learned that you need to set realistic expectations while you're planning because I didn't take into account the seat time and other things like that. And I found it awesome because I found a project that I was passionate about, so discipline and work ethic wasn't really a problem because I enjoyed what I was learning. Project results. So I completed 29 programs in total, and they're pretty short, but I completed 29. I learned about loops, conditions, building custom functions, cases, ints, floats, chars, and doubles, strings, declaring variables, formatting in C, and get functions. So I'm just going to take you through about 5 programs that I wrote that encompass the basic knowledge which I learned, I guess. So this is a Fahrenheit to Celsius converter. In the bottom window, I ran it. So if you look on these lines, this is the actual program. So it starts with including header files, which is a directory of syntax. Int main void, that's where the actual program starts. So printf, enter a temperature, and you can see that appears down here. And then it declares a float f, and then it retrieves the float f from the user, which happens right here. So I typed in 212, and then it declares float c equals 5 divided by 9 times f minus 32. So it'll plug in this variable right here, and then printf %f in Fahrenheit equals %f in Celsius /n, which returns down a line. And the first variable after the quotation marks goes into the %f and then %c. So 212 in Fahrenheit equals 100 degrees in Celsius. So that was pretty cool. And this is a same basic thing, kilograms to pounds converter. Yeah, same thing. I think you guys can figure that out. Y'all good?
Their eyes are glazing over.
Yeah, I thought so. This is a size of. Size of is a function that asks or declares the size of a file size. So up here I just wanted to find out how much, like how big a file size is. So chars, ints, floats, and doubles, that's like a file type. An integer stands for integer. Character is a character. A float is a floating point value. So it's like an integer except with a decimal with a floating point. And a double is a large integer pretty much. So printf, you can see all this down here. And then %I is the placeholder, which with the function size of c, which would be that, I, which would be I. So you can see here, char is the least, integer is the second, same with float, and then the double is the largest. And then I learned about loops. This is a loop function, so it will, I declared an integer a, and it will do printf, enter a positive integer, and then it'll receive that integer I. And it'll do that as long as a is less than 0. So if I wanted a positive integer, it would keep doing that until a is greater than 0. And then the loop would exit. And then once the loop is finished, it says, thanks for the positive integer. And this is a custom function. This is, oops. I'll just go on to get age. Never mind. This is get age. This is a function that I made on my own.
You say you
And
wrote
I thought of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Basically, it'll ask you what year you're born in, and then it'll tell you how old you are. So here is the custom function up here, which is declared down here what it is. So first, it'll declare integer I, what is your age, and then integer I equals get int, and then it'll return that value back into here. So integer I equals, and I equals get age, so that'll go into I right there. Integer Y declared, and Y equals 2015, the year that we're in right now, minus how old you are, minus the year that you're born in. And then it'll tell you how old you are. So. Questions?
Look at him. Go back one the screen for us.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So if you see any set of programming works where you have sequential, you see your sequential order on the left, and then you have to learn within the language how to create commands. And a loop is just something that repeats over and over again to process information, right? I mean, some of the things are understandable, but what Seth is really working on, and there's a lot of complexity to that, is what commands cause actions to occur within that framework. That's usually what they term that as, a framework that he's writing and creating stuff for, and that's the language. Every language is different, so C is a great place to start. Things that gaming, lots of games are written with it, C#, sometimes JavaScript, depends on what you're doing, and they will overlap. The coolest thing is with Seth starting with C, is that's pretty much a root language. And so if he understands this, it'll help him understand a lot of things.
Yep.
Next year. Very
Yep.
good.
Cut everything.
Okay? Yes, let's give him a round of applause. Guys.